the movie Underwater was basically a 2019 deep sea emulation of Ridley Scott's Alien. And I tell you what, I give them an A for effort. It was a valiant attempt. They gave it their all. But as with every movie that tries to be Alien, it always falls short. All right? The cinematography was great in this. The mood and atmosphere were all pretty good. All right? But I just didn't care about the characters like I did in Ridley Scott's Alien. All right? They tried to make Kristen Stewart into another Ripley. And she's a great actress, but she does not have the charisma and gravitas of Sigourney Weaver. Sorry. Even that young Sigourney Weaver in 1979, she just cannot match that. And she spent the whole movie just pretty much looking like a female Eminem. She had this short blonde hair, and it was kind of hard to take it seriously when they went for that look for her. Like, it was 1998 era Slim Shady, and it was hard to focus off that and onto the story of the movie. And like I said, the characters were just not memorable. They were good actors too. T.J. Miller's a good actor, and they had him as sort of the comedic relief, the big funny guy, always cracking jokes, never taking anything seriously. But none of the jokes were really funny. None of the writing was really memorable. No memorable lines, no memorable dialogue. And that goes a long way in a film to endearing you to the characters, which 1979's Alien and 86's Aliens did. Those movies had great dialogue and quotable moments in bucket loads, in spades. And this movie just lacked that memorable aspect to its characters and their interactions. It was very forgettable, the people in this movie. And I could barely remember the names of the characters. All I know is the main girl was Nora, and someone was Smith. I didn't find out till right at the end that John Gallagher's character was called Smith. I thought that was T.J. Miller's character. So it was hard to keep track of who was who and what. And look, maybe that was me. Maybe everyone else was able to keep track, but it didn't grab my attention. The characters, at least, like Alien did, and like a lot of other sci-fi or thriller horrors do. But like I said, an A for effort because it was one of the better looking movies I've seen in a while. I didn't love the camera work in every scene. There was a bit of shaky cam going on, especially in some of the more dramatic action type moments where they were being attacked by the creatures. And so they always do that to sort of up the drama and up the tension, but it doesn't work for me. I like still shots. They didn't do it in Alien. They didn't do shaky cam in that. All right, Ridley Scott knew how to build tension and drama and even freak you out in moments of sheer chaos and panic without shaking the camera. A good director can do that. All right, they don't need to do it now. It's like all directors think now that that's the only way to build tension or to convey that something really dramatic is happening right now, and you need to freak out because the camera's shaking. You get it? All right. I hate that. I wish they'd go back to just, I don't know, using good angles, using good lighting, good editing, good cutaways. You can do it right without shaking the bloody camera. All right. But the underwater scenes, the mood and atmosphere, they got that pretty much spot on. Although it was a bit too bright at the bottom of the ocean, bloody 6 miles down, it'd be pitch black down there. Unless, you had artificial lighting from the bases. But there were moments where they were walking in between bases where it was still pretty freaking lit up, all right? And it wasn't from their suits, the small little lights on their suits. So I thought it would have been even more atmospheric and more eerie if they had been in pitch black darkness and all you could see was a couple feet ahead from the lamps on their suits. That would have been more atmospheric. But maybe it would have felt too much like a found footage movie. Maybe that's what the filmmakers thought. But I think it could have been done right. It could have been done in a way that still felt like a feature film. But just to utilize that really really low level of lighting. But Vincent Cassel, I like him. He always has quite a presence. He's got a very memorable face, but he always usually looks evil and plays villains. So it was a bit off-putting to see him play pretty much a good guy who, has good intentions, because he almost never has that. But again, his character wasn't that well written. It wasn't fleshed out. None of the characters were fleshed out. And I'm not saying in the first Alien movie, because that's what I've got to directly compare it to, because that's what this was a clone of, or what it was attempting to be. In the original Alien, the characters weren't extremely fleshed out, but somehow through their brief scenes and through the dialogue, just not a wasted line in that movie, you're able to flesh out the characters with minimal screen time. The movie Alien was only about 20 minutes longer than this movie, and probably most of that was character development. I don't know. I don't know the exact percentage of character moments in Alien compared to this, but sometimes you need to flesh out your movie a little bit more, especially your characters, just so that we actually care about them when they're dying or something, dangerous is happening to them. If you really want tension, you can't just focus on shaky cam. You gotta have built up the characters to the point where we actually care. We're invested in their fate and what's going to happen to them. That adds to the tension. But all in all, like I said, they tried. The pacing was all right because it was only short. The creatures looked pretty damn good. I mean, there's no excuse for anything to look bad in a movie nowadays with modern special effects, and the cost of CGI has plummeted, and so you can get some pretty decent effects, especially when you're showing them in low-level lighting and underwater with grains of plankton and bloody algae and shit floating around. It can help to mask the flaws in the visual effects. So I think that was effective. But it's hard to praise a movie for looking good in 2020. Even it's weird. It says it's a 2019 movie, but it came out in January. I think it had some problems and delays with development, this film. It took it a while for it to actually get a release. And then, the bloody cinemas closed down. So I feel bad for the filmmakers, around now times. They're releasing movies and, it's like the worst time possible that you could have had a movie scheduled to come out. So hopefully these movies are doing all right on download and streaming. But this one, it's one of the better horror thrillers I've seen lately, because most of them are absolute turds, to be honest. The horror genre has gone to shit, and I mostly enjoy watching thrillers now, because horror, I have to write it off. It's just all jump scares and stupid shaky cam in a non-found footage movie. It's never justified in a non-found footage movie. Never. They're the only films that can get away with shaky cam. And maybe Uncut Gems. But this was not of the quality of Uncut Gems. And yeah, horrors, it feels like a dead genre. But this movie was one of the better ones I've seen recently. It just, it starts to really diminish when you compare it to the classics and the greats of times past. And I really felt the alien overtones in this, and it felt like they were trying a bit too hard as well. I've got to say that, all right? It's okay to try and to make it obvious that you're, trying to be alien underwater instead of in deep space, but it was too obvious. They just really, they didn't, no subtlety. It had to be more subtle, because, you had the main girl be, stoic yet vulnerable hero, like Ripley, probably about the same age as Sigourney Weaver was in Alien, back in 1979 as well. I think Kristen Stewart's like 30, 31, something like that. But you had her running around for half the movie in her underpants, just like Ripley did in the third act, or, the finale of Alien, in tiny little underpants as well, just like Ripley did in Alien. You had sort of the truckers in space, but more like truckers in under the sea aspect to it, where they're all sort of blue-collar workers and all that, and it's fine. I love that aspect of Alien. I'm all for more movies like that, but this was just too obviously going for that. Now, the ending was different to Alien, so they changed that at least. She wasn't the lone survivor like Ripley was, and she sacrificed herself. A lot of people, this movie was full of self-sacrifice. I like that in a film. I like when they get characters to be selfless like that. That's always good. It's a noble, self-sacrifice is the noblest act a person can do, and I like seeing that in films. It's not, done enough. Most of the time characters are reprehensible assholes, but in this movie, pretty much everyone was a noble, righteous, well-intentioned, selfless person. So that was good. It made me like the characters, even though I didn't know shit about them. And even though they were it felt one-dimensional, I still liked the fact that they were all portrayed as being nice, decent people who cared about each other. That was good. They were decent, good people, but forgettable, good, decent people. Yeah, the mood, the atmosphere, the claustrophobia of being in the base, the corridors, that was all very alien-esque. But yeah, just to run around in her underwear and her feeling like a short-haired Ripley clone was just a bit too much to, carry this movie to a place of greatness. It was never going to get there when it was this much of an alien clone with much, much lower quality characters, writing, and even the camera work. Not as good as Alien, but they nailed the mood, the atmosphere, and the look of Alien in a way. Some of the drama as well, but like I said, actually some of the deaths were memorable. The guy T.J. Miller getting ripped out of his suit. I won't forget that. All right, that's stuck in my head. And the creature at the end. All right, let's talk about that. The creature at the end, the giant creature, felt very Lovecraftian. Looked like Cthulhu a little bit. Looked like it had some kind of tentacle mouth thing going on as well, just like Cthulhu does. So that was interesting. I feel like, this movie went in a Lovecraftian direction, and not many movies do. Although it's funny, the guy's been gone, almost like 80, 90 years now, H.P. Lovecraft. But his movies, his works, his stories, his themes, they seem to be getting more attention nowadays. Recently, I guess a bunch of directors and writers are familiar with his work now, and they're trying to adapt it more, or put the themes and elements and mood and atmosphere of it into movies more. And I'm all for that, because his stories had some really cool vibes to them, like very eerie and interesting. I heard they were going to make a movie about At the Mountains of Madness eventually. It's been in development hell for like probably a decade or so, maybe more. But eventually, if that comes out, that'll be interesting, depending on who they get to make it, and if it can be a good quality movie or not. Because when that story always gave me vibes of The Thing a little bit. Maybe it's just because it's in the South Pole, just like The Thing is in Antarctica. But I don't know. I don't know if John W. Campbell, who wrote Who Goes There, was... I don't know if he was inspired at all by H.P. Lovecraft. They lived in the same era, although his story came in the 40s, Who Goes There. But anyway, I'm going off on tangents here. The movie, I liked that element of it. That was different. That felt more original to Alien. Having it, instead of being just one creature stalking her, it was many. So I guess that upped the threat level. But there's something about, in the first Alien movie, having just one xenomorph stalking them made the danger level, the threats, the stakes feel a lot higher for some reason. Maybe it's just because when it's just one, and it's so hard to kill and escape from just one, it makes that one creature feel so much more lethal than having multiple of them. Because then, they feel more like disposable. Because she killed one and crawled out of it. That was a good scene. I'll give it that. That was a good scene where she was getting swallowed and killed it and crawled out. That was good. So that giant creature at the end, it looked good. It was shot well. It's a shame it wasn't explored in any way, shape, or form even more. I don't know if they have any plans to make a sequel or not. I don't think this made enough money to warrant one. which is a shame. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of this universe. It wasn't bad. This wasn't a bad movie. Just when compared to what it was trying to emulate, it's not great in any way. But the ending was interesting. I mean, I guess the company covered up the entire thing. I'm sure something of that magnitude wouldn't be able to be covered up. I'm sure the government agencies would eventually find out what was going on. But who knows? Who knows? It's supposed to be set in the future. They don't really say. I was going to try and pause it at the end when I was showing the news articles to try and catch a date, but I couldn't be bothered, to be honest. I wasn't that invested in the universe to actually try and find out exactly when. Maybe I'll Google it later, find out when it's set. I assume in a few decades' time, because we don't have any bases of that magnitude now underwater. Or do we? Secret ones, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, in summary, it's an alien clone that gets some things right, but not everything, and fails to... it falls short of the grandeur and greatness of that classic 1979 horror thriller masterpiece. This was a interesting movie. It wasn't boring, shot well, but ultimately a little bit forgettable. But a valiant attempt, as I said at the start, at trying to be a 21st century alien, and elevated the horror genre a little bit because it's been in the doldrums for a long time. And it was nice to see no politics in the movie either. Hollywood loves to throw that, ram it down your throat in almost every single movie nowadays. So it was nice to see that that wasn't in there either. I think I'll leave it there before I ramble on too long. Check out the movie if you haven't seen it. If you're a fan of Alien, fan of sci-fi, fan of thrillers, or you're a fan of water, because this movie is entirely in water. All right, I'll leave it there. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Take care, be good, and I'll see yous later.